friends, and welcome back to another video and start a new short series about the different characters that we are going to see in both the Rings of Power and the Lord of the Rings on screen, how the characters need to change and what we have seen so far. So make sure to like and subscribe, but without further ado, let's get right into it. With the first episode, it would make complete sense that we begin with the seemingly main character of the story so far, Galadriel. The way she is portrayed in the Rings of Power has been heavily debated, many saying that she currently does not portray the characteristics of who she is eventually going to be in the later years, but that doesn't always necessarily mean that it is a bad thing if there is going to be a story arc. There is character development and story arcs that need to be taken into account for moments like these. From the movies, you know that Galadriel is someone wise, that is calculating and caring, that she is smart and has a bigger vision than what even the characters of the Fellowship can realize. So much so that even Gandalf, a Maya, looks up to her. But how can she be compared to the character that she is in the Rings of Power TV series? Let's get right into it. To put it shortly, she can't. Those are two different characters that have different meanings and perspectives on the world. On one hand, we have young Galadriel that is a bit more hot-headed, is a warrior and tries to fight the battles head-on and physically, while older Galadriel has more to take into consideration. Perhaps that's where it all lies. That's where the difference is. Young Galadriel only sees herself as an issue and doesn't take other people into account. Her personal vendetta is just that, personal, and since she doesn't have her husband or her daughter to think of, because we have no information about her daughter Celebrian, and we know that her husband is apparently dead, from her perspective, she maybe sees herself as a weapon of destruction, someone that needs to eradicate evil firsthand and is definitely reckless along the way too, blinded and narrow-minded with rage. For her to become the Galadriel that we know in the Lord of the Rings, she needs to care more about people and to find something that anchors her. I believe that this can be solved with Celeborn, him possibly being the trigger that makes her take a step back from who she is and make her become who she will be. Her daughter being involved in the Amazon series is a possibility as well, although she hasn't been mentioned by herself or by anyone else, and there are many doubts as to how we'll see Celebrian grow throughout the series. Her relationship with Elrond wouldn't be enough for her to change views unless there is a death from someone that she and Elrond deeply care about, and the list of those characters are quite slim as well, as most of the canon characters survive until, of course, the War of the Last Alliance or into the Third Age. A personal drama is going to happen, her finding Celeborn again. It can be with him being unharmed, just like it can be him being almost dead in the Eregion battle or somewhere else, but she will need to find something to hold on to, someone that has a different perspective and vision on things, and that is going to impact her life. A person who wouldn't want to see Galadriel die. Elrond is Galadriel's friend, but we don't see this kind of relationship with the two of them as much in the first season, as Galadriel sees him as a bit more like someone with less experience, and she's clearly affectionate towards him, but not enough to make her take a step back from the life that she is currently living. During the last episodes of the series, when Halbrand reveals himself as being Sauron, it's understandable that she is upset and angry, not only towards the person that killed her brother or caused his death, but also at herself for not seeing things more clearly and being able to get the hints before. Maybe she's going to be a lot more careful with and around people now as well, not trusting them immediately or trying to see what they really want to do, and maybe this is the beginning of potentially her wisdom coming into play or growing within her character because she's learning from her mistakes. And of course this would tie in with the character that she will become in the Lord of the Rings, where it seems as if no one can even lie to her and she can see through everyone with ease. As of right now, there might not be many, but we already see glimpses of the character that she will become. Both elves and men look up to her whenever she's mentioned. A good example of that is Aronde's reaction to knowing that she's around, and there being an aura around her that she is kind of untouchable from the rest. In Numenor it is seen as well, for example with Isildur and his friends on the ship. Her role as a leader isn't what will truly change. She is the commander of a few elves in the beginning of the first episode, and afterwards in the later episodes she also leads the charge with the Numenorians, but she wouldn't just stay as a general in the field. What will probably happen to connect the Rings of Power and the Lord of the Rings is that she'll take a step back and lead more from afar, using her knowledge and ability to use strategies, and not be the first one on the line that can possibly die, probably similar to how Gil-galad would act more like a general in the War of the Last Alliance. For example, more like how Gil-galad will act like a general during the War of the Elves and Sauron. The leaders will probably step back and making plans, etc. The further the TV series will go, the more important she will become for the plot of the story. It isn't clearly stated that she is the main character of the series, but with the amount of screen time that was dedicated to her in the first season, it's easy to think that she is. Maybe in the second or third season we'll see her less. We don't know for certain, but what we know is that she is going to be an important character to tie in the Amazon series and the Peter Jackson movies, along with Isildur and Elrond too. Just like with the other characters that we'll go over in the series, Galadriel is missing something from the elf that we know. Is that such a bad thing? Not necessarily. It would be perhaps even boring to have her be the exact same elf than what we know her as. In this instance, with the Amazon take on the elf and giving her a drastic change, maybe in a few seasons time we will find her more appealing, connect with her more. Cate Blanchett's take on Galadriel is amazing. Everyone remembers it very fondly, but it is also distant and perhaps unrelatable to the average viewer. She's portrayed more like a goddess, even more so than Gandalf and Saruman together, more so than Elrond as well, and that attracts the viewer to her. Of course, one point to counter all this is, of course, if we go to the Silmarillion, if we go to the lore, if we go to some of Tolkien's initial works, we know that we say young Galadriel, but really at this point in the Second Age, Galadriel has already technically learned a lot because of her relationship with Melian the Maya, who she spent many years with in Doriath, and I believe this relationship and her knowing some of the stuff that she learned around the world, etc., would have translated into her, for example, in the Numenorian courtroom, or when meeting the Queen for the first time, having a bit more diplomacy, being a bit more aware than she actually was, because she probably would have been around courts, etc., like that, for or meeting noble people, characters for a while. So maybe stuff like that is where the show fell a bit short in trying to over-exaggerate, over to a large extent show her foolhardiness, her narrow-mindedness, because of course even though there is going to be that character progression, maybe they just went a slight too far, but at the end of the day she still is this character that had some experience around the world, has been through the kinslayings, has travelled across the Helcaraxe, so maybe this will be the point that in season 2 we'll see a bit of more of a mixture, we'll see Galadriel more grounded. So to recap what we have discussed, Galadriel needs to either develop or rekindle a relationship with someone that means a lot to her, ideally her own husband, Celeborn, that is presumably lost and / or dead, and of course the even more vivid Clark herself has mentioned something along these lines as well. This character needs to have a different perspective on the world than Galadriel, their visions clashing and her understanding his point of view. We have seen this with Elrond, but he isn't close enough to her for her to change drastically. This will lead her to being less reckless with the world and caring more about others, most importantly herself. She won't be as active on the battlefield, probably just like Gil-galad, Celebrimbor, etc., Elrond, and instead take a step back and lead the armies, playing a more strategy-orientated role. Let us know in the comments what you think about this new short series and your thoughts about Galadriel's character so far, and how she will be the one that we know of in the Peter Jackson movies. Thank you guys for watching, we really appreciate it. Make sure to like and subscribe. But until the next video, my friends, goodbye.